嗨，大家好，这里是大波胡。在太平洋时间8月18日上午，北京时间8月19日凌晨，微软模拟飞行开发团队举行了新一场在线 QA 直播，一如既往的在回答广大飞友各种疑问的同时，透露了不少未来的开发计划以及内幕讲解。本期视频是对此次官方节目的转播录像，先是要点总结，然后是节目的全程回放，旨在为大家带来最速报道。但这样及时的过程中，难免会出现遗漏甚至是事实错误的情况。相对的，在近期我也将会整合所有官方渠道的消息来制作完整的总结视频，还请关注频道，以便第一时间获得更新。首先是今天，在2年前的8月18号是这代微软模拟飞行正式发售，也就是今天是2周年纪念日。然后我不知道这个 A300是他们口误还是真的有。另外，现在游戏内商城是有大促的，但只会持续2天，所以各位抓紧。好，然后先总结一下今天说的 SU10版本的一些新消息。首先是确认延期了，至少2周。那么从日历上来看，9月见了。官方给的解释是，目前从测试版的反馈来看，仍有不少稳定性问题。今天说了一些比较典型的，比如说 N 卡用 DX12 的时候会有一些内存占用的一些奇葩的现象。这个问题阿索伯自己也说，他们正在和英伟达一块在解决这个问题，所以很显然他们是想把这个问题解决掉，再正式发版本。延期跟这个有一定关系，当然这只是他们列举的一个问题。即便测试的已经快6周了，发现的稳定性问题还是不少，他们是想都解决掉再发版。在正式发版 DLSS， 然后他们也提到这 SU10 现在的那个版本的 DLSS 还是比较初级的，以后还会持续的优化。然后说到 DLSS 就得说 FSR 目前还在做，而且是和 AMD 合作在做。SU10 即便 SU10 延期2周也赶不上 FSR 的目前的状态是这个样子。然后还解释了一些 SU10 版本的一些新内容，然后重点提到了 G1000 的更新。在现在，其实在游戏内市场里有一个免费的叫 NXI 的插件，那个插件是 Working Title 团队做的，对游戏内所有 G1000 的一个强化。在 SU10 正式更新之后，这个 G1000 的那个插件会直接整合到游戏的基础版本中，等于所有的 G1000 的飞机都会用到那个新版本。除了那个插件现在已有的那些功能之外，然后这次 Working Title 的创始人直接来介绍这个 G1000 的更新，其中提到至少他自己认为非常接近真实，像 VNAV、RNAV、航路制定、Missed Approach 都是有的。同时有一个现实版本 G1000 没有的功能，我们可以用我们的物理键盘来打字，不用非得用那个旋钮了。同时也说到这个关于这次 G1000 的更新会有一个预告片，然后这个 G1000 的更新同时会带一个新版本的 VFR 地图。现在游戏里的那个 VFR 地图其实特别的初级，啥功能都没有。另外一个重点的延期的新功能是 Xbox 的 WebAssembly 支持，即便官方这次说了开发进度良好，但是目前还是赶不上 SU10。其他的是这些东西就不说了。讲到这个，因为 SU10 还有个改动是典藏版的飞机的加密被解除了，等于是那些典藏版的飞机像波音787之类的是可以任意打帽的。这里官方也解释了一下，像 Fly-by-wire 的 A320 为什么没有进市场，根本原因是微软的这个市场策略，他们允许 MIT 的开源协议，但是 Fly-by-wire 用的是 GPL V3， 所以这就相当于是在开源协议上的不兼容，这个属于完全没有办法。这也是 Fly-by-wire 不能不是说 Fly-by-wire 不能上架，而是 Fly-by-wire 选择不上架的原因是这个。另外，长途飞行掉帧这个问题目前还在定位，目前还没定位到。Xbox 航电黑屏问题是他们找到了，已经确定了原因是内存不够用。内存不够用的根本原因是有2个问题，一个是游戏占用的内存太多了，这个他们会去优化；第二个是他们通过这个问题，他们发现 Xbox 系统汇报的剩余内存的数不对。然后就是一些新内容，首先是今天已经出现的是著名飞行器第3代比奇 V35 已经开始卖了，是14.99美元，是Caronado工作室制作的。然后在下周8月24号开始， 德国科隆游戏展会进行。在科隆展的现场，微软模拟飞行也会公布新内容。公布的新内容有2个，我们只知道是什么类型的内容，是一架飞机和一个 CU。这个 CU 是啥？目前我不知道。虽说 SU10没赶上8月底，但是这个更新肯定会有。至于是啥嘛，到时候就知道了。然后9月底是世界更新第11弹加拿大。然后每次世界更新不会伴随一个当地传奇吗？但这次当地传奇会是什么，我们目前也不知道。就是他们说法是本来会是 DHC2 海狸，但 DHC2 目前已经决定了会给11月的更新，所以是啥呢？然后这次是官方演示的直升机，演示的是 G2 那架直升机，同时也带着一个气流可视化工具出现了，我们可以看到直升机对气流的互动和影响。同时官方提到这架直升机本身它的性能不是特别强，官方通过说这个事儿就说我在游戏里面把这个性能不是特别强的这个事儿也模拟出来了，这是官方的介绍。然后同时说在 Gamescom 就是德国科隆游戏展上，现场也会有新消息以及试玩。如果各位能去科隆展的，可以现场试玩直升机的。至于其他的直接的一个事儿，就是正在做的那架 ATR 今年可能赶不上。然后今天的说的这些消息就这么多。可以啊，我看那个群里说有很多人说过两天要来北京的样子。哦，我先闭嘴了。
Hi everyone, welcome to our long-awaited developer Q&A. It's definitely been a few months since we last streamed. I think it was the end of May, but we're really happy to be back to talk about what we've been up to, answer some of your questions, showcase or maybe tease a couple things coming in the near future. We're really excited to talk about it.
之前几代模拟飞行是微软自己的吧？第一代我能确定的是第一代是微软买的，之后我就真不确定。
On your left, we have Jorg Newman, head of Microsoft Flight
Simulator.
这
三位我得介绍一下，左边的是 Jorg Newman， 是微软模拟飞行的总负责人，中间的是 Sebastian Block， 是 Asobo 的 CEO， 同时他有个人飞行执照，他是真飞行员。右边是 Marcel， 是 Asobo 的一个制作人。
Thank you. Guten Tag.
Yes, and so just a few reminders for our chat today. First of all, thank you for tuning in live, of course, and for the raid earlier from Chewy. Really appreciate that. It's great to see so many familiar usernames in the chat. So today, just so you know, we have 2 Q&A sessions throughout the stream dedicated to Sim Update 10. We've picked a ton of questions from forum users based on, popularity and importance of the question. But feel free to ask your questions during those sessions as well, and we'll see if we can answer some live questions as well. So it's time. Let's go ahead and get started. So before we get into the meat of some of those questions, Jorg has a few things he'd like to share, kind of what we've been up to the past few months. So I'll kick it off to you, Jorg.
Hi, everyone.
What the
Yeah, I mean, so I hope everybody had a great summer. I can't believe it's been 3 months. We've been lucky enough to go to Oshkosh and meet some of you, which was really fun. Great memories, and honestly, we love the show so much. I think we're going to go back next year, so maybe we can meet even more of you. But really, what we should do, and I see it in the chat already, is next slide. Today is our anniversary. Yay! It's 2 years, and so happy anniversary, everybody. It's been a wonderful 2 years, and I put the next slide together. I spent a bunch of time reflecting what we've done. Remember when we said we're going to do an update a month? Mm-hmm. We actually did. We just put here. I didn't have any pictures for sim updates, but we've done 10 world updates now. We are at the 10th sim update. We did 3 platform launches. We had interesting.
网速给点力好不好？现在画面上的是从发售至今的几大。所有的大更新，它都列出来了。
So it's been a great, super interesting ride with you guys, and thank you so much for everything. And while I'm super proud of the things, and then maybe if you show the next slide, I was thinking about how do we celebrate this, and I said, why don't we do something like this, what we haven't done before. So today, we put all of our stuff on sale, everything we made internally. So hopefully that makes you a little bit happy. It's basically a thank you for all of you guys. And the next slide. So while I'm happy and proud of everything we've done, I had this idea last night to make a slide and show all the great work that has been done.
这些都是第三号飞机，看出来。
Put pictures up from every plane ever made. Yeah, well, I got this far. So this is the first year. This is so in the first year, y'all made over 60 planes, which is great. And
这些是官方这第三号飞机，第三号飞机。
And then I know there's over 300 coming. So it's been humbling and amazing, and I enjoyed tons of these. And
刚才没听错吧？空客 A300。
So thank you.
谁做的？
And I think that was my quick little intro.
Yes, it was. Thank you for that, Jorg. It's been a fun summer too, and thank you to everybody, especially in the third-party dev community, for all those planes. That's been a great past few years for us. But we will move on to our Sim Update 10 session, where we have a lot we want to get started and chat about. So first off, Jorg wants to talk a little bit about the readiness of Sim Update 10.
Yeah, I mean, so Sim Update 10 was off to a great start. We spent a bunch of time on it, as you know, and you helped us a lot. There were 30,000 plus people actually playing, so I think that was a record. So thank you for that. And we obviously the team did as much as possible to react to the feedback. Just lately, it was becoming clear that some of you see performance issues. Some people have stability issues. And based on all that, there was even a thread saying, hey, please don't release this. We agree. So we made the decision just, I think, yesterday or the day before that we want to keep this in the oven for a little bit longer. Seb and Marcia are going to talk a little bit about the things we've already found. But to have set expectations, I think we're going to spend another 2 weeks plus and to get it right, make sure that it's stable for everybody. And it is actually the performance increase and stability increase that we wanted. All right, with that, over to you, Marcia, I think.
Well, regarding the performances, there's two things. The first one is related to DirectX 12 and NVIDIA. So we are working with NVIDIA to get DirectX 12 working perfectly, and we've got some issue. We've got some. I think there's some question about that later on this Q&A. Well, we are getting some artifacts. There's a memory management issue. The fact was that when we initially published the Sim Update 10, it went with a bunch of optimizations on the memory allocations. And because it was creating some bugs, we had to remove that. So as a consequence on DirectX 12, the performance went back to a less performance build. So it's really something we are working hardly with NVIDIA. So that's the good news. NVIDIA is involved in that. They are supposed to publish a fix, and as soon as we will have the fix, we don't know exactly when, but as soon as we will have the fix, we will be in a position to get back the optimization we did, and then we will get more performances on DirectX 12. That said, it's not the only issue. We have figured out that we also have some performances issue on DirectX 11, and there's plenty of reason for that. So we've spent some time to do some investigation. One of the reasons that we found recently was that we did an optimization for memory. And in the test case, everything was working fine. But thanks to the flighting, we figured out that in some circumstances, this optimization on memory was not an optimization of performances. And on the opposite, it was costing up to 8 milliseconds per frame. This is too much, so we are working on that. So that's why we need some extra times to find all the problems and to bring you the Sim Update 10 that everybody expects.
And we have a few slides here on PC performance and VR performance, if you want to talk about those a little bit.
Okay, but this is related because on the forums we had some questions for stats regarding the LSS. So this is the one we did. So we can talk about that already. We'll talk about the LSS later, I think. So the stats we've got on, and to explain how you can select your.
延期这事儿一会儿结束之后，我再反过来重新的听一下。
DLSS regarding the CPU
我
and GPU.
如果没听错的话，说的是延期的。
So the important point here, if you look at the costs of the GPU for the DLSS. This is obvious that as soon as you want to get more quality, it is costing a bit more.
现在他在介绍 DLSS 是什么东西，因为很多传统模拟飞行玩家对这玩意儿不大了解，这方面我就不多记录了。
Default anti-aliasing we've got to the ultra performance DLSS, which is maybe the less quality but better performance. So basically, here I wanted to talk about that because, as you can see, this is the DLS is only a matter of GPU performance. So depending on the CPU you've got and the CPU bonding, you can select a different level of DLSS. So on this PC, for instance, we were a CPU bond, and the CPU was costing 25 milliseconds per frame. So basically, you can select the DLSS quality without having any drop of frames. So that's why it's super important to check on your PC where is the bonding. After that, we've got some other measurement for the.
再重复一下，现在他在讲的以及屏幕上那个是他在介绍，向普通玩家解释 DLSS 是什么东西，以及如何去利用。
What's super important is that DLSS is also super effective when you're using VR, and this is one of the questions we found in the forum.
Thank you, Marcia.
And
one of those questions that came in from the forum, when should players be using AMD Fidelity FX versus changing TAA to NVIDIA DLSS? So they're wondering if they can expect support for AMD's Fidelity VX Super Resolution FSR 2.0.
Okay, so there's plenty of things here because we are Fidelity FX is not only the DSR. So for instance, we are using the CAS on Fidelity FX. It's a system that sharpens the rendering. So and this system on Fidelity FX is not related to any anti-aliasing, or it's not even related to video cards. So if we are just looking at the equivalent of the DLSS, it's more the FSR and the FSR 2.0. We are still working on this with AMD. So we've got a great relationship with NVIDIA. We've got the same with AMD. So it's not coming for Sim Update 10. We'll see what will be the time frame. So it's a close relationship, and we need some features from them.
Okay, understood. And another. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I can see a DLSS is blurry.
Yes.
So that's also
the next question.
Yes, okay, sorry. So this is also something we know, especially for the glass cockpits, because the glass cockpits, it's a rounded texture and it's not working perfectly with the DLSS. So the ideal option would be to have a mask to remove this area of the screen from the DLSS. So it's a solution we're talking with NVIDIA also. So it won't be ready for Sim Update 10, that's for sure. Hopefully we could bring that for Sim Update 11, but it's still R&D, so it's not like an option we just have to trigger. But we know that we've got sometimes rendering quality issues, and we're working with NVIDIA for that.
Okay, yeah, that's a really interesting solution. Marcel. All right, so we'll move on to multi-monitor support. As you know, in Sim Update 10 beta, we added that experimental feature in the menu. So one of the questions from the community is, can we expect field of view projection adjustments in future iterations of multi-monitor support?
So I've seen that, and I think also in the forums there's some confusion between the bezel correction and the bezel distortion. So what we did so far on multi-screen, you can extend your display up to 7 screens, and on each screens you can move the camera in order to have the right position, the exact position you want. So it's like up, down, and roll. So it's mainly rotations. And you can also change the field of view by changing the setting called zoom. I think, yeah, it's zoom. So if you look at the question about the bezel correction and not the bezel distortion, what it does is that you are using these corrections to take in account the side of the screens. So basically, you've got this kind of feeling that you're looking the game as you were looking through a window. And this is already doable by just playing with the rotation we've got. So basically, you don't need so much bezel correction if you do a proper setting of the rotation on each screen. What we don't do, and maybe something we could bring later on, is that we have just one zoom.
卡住了。
Well, if FOV setting, and this could be an issue if we've got different screens. I mean, different size of screens and especially different age of screens. So maybe later on we will bring a solution on which you can select every screen and have a proper setting on each screen for the FOV. But this is not done yet.
Great, thank you for that explanation, Marcel. All right, the last point on here is low power mode. That also came in the Sim Update 10 beta in the experimental menu. So, yeah?
This is also for me then.
Yes, one more question for you. So we're just wondering, given the feedback around it, if you could talk a little bit about that implementation and any future changes.
I've got the feeling to be Sebastian talking all the time. Yes, we look at the feedback that the community made for implementing the low power mode. And basically, what we did now is focusing on the GPU load. So when you navigate on the menus, instead of reducing all the frame rates, we are now doing some work on the GPU frequencies. So the low power mode is still a feature which is in an experimental menu because we still have to work on that and to collect feedback from the community. So please, if you've got some feedback on these features, please give us some. So basically, the system is working based on the VSync. So most of the time, the VSync on monitors is mostly 60 Hertz. Sometimes it gets higher. So when you're using the VSync, there's two things. First one, the user can choose to divide the frame rates by 2 or 3, which reduces the consumption of the GPU, obviously. And there's two automated features. So when you're downloading a package through the content manager, is also divided the frequency of the image by 2. And we are dividing the frequency by 3 when you're minimizing the game window. So by doing that, we hope that we will bring most of the requirements that the community was asking. If there's more, don't hesitate to put some comments in the forums, and we will read that.
Perfect. Thanks, Martial. I'm seeing a few good questions in chat. I have noted them here, and we'll ask some of those a little bit towards the end in our next session, but thank you for asking them. I wanted to move on, though, to something very fun that we'd like to talk about, which you can see here is the G1000 NXI. So coming in Sim Update 10, the G1000 NXI will be the default G1000 in the simulator, which is fantastic. We've had the marketplace free version for about a year now from Working Title, and this update's going to bring a whole number of new features to G1000, really close to the real NXI unit. It's going to have VNAV, procedural turns, holds, arc legs, a whole bunch of stuff. So to talk a lot more about that, we've invited back someone you've seen on the stream before to talk more about these features.
Working Title 的人来了。
Who is the founder, the lead architect of Working Title Simulations, Matt Nishan. Welcome back, Matt.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Glad you could join us. So tell us a little bit about what's coming with Sim Update 10 and all the fun features that we're going to see.
Yeah, so Sim Update 10, as you all know, we've had the NXI in the marketplace for a while. I think it's been there for a little, just maybe a little over a year. Yeah, that's going to be the default G1000 now as of Sim Update 10. If any of you are already in the beta, you've seen that. But just wanted to talk to real quick some of the cool features that are coming along with it for folks that haven't seen it yet. So this first screenshot here is you can see one of the things that people really wanted, obviously, was VNav. You know, when we'll be getting, you know, a couple VNav, all kinds of stuff like that. You know, so the G1000, the NXI, has coupled VNav. You can see the little, you know, the magenta caret there. You can see the TOD marker in the middle of the map. You can see we've got VPath armed up in the corner, which is super cool. And if you go on to the next slide. So the other thing that's really cool about the NXI that people really wanted were curved legs, RF legs. We do DME arcs, all that kind of stuff. So you can see here kind of an example. This is going into Palm Springs. This is a very cool approach. It's this big curved thing. You come from super high, and the autopilot flies it perfectly, you know, through everything. You'll get VNav all through the turns. It's super a lot of fun. So yeah, we're excited about all the VNav and navigational stuff. So yeah, here's another picture of that same approach. And then on the left side, you can see here a cool feature that was brought to the real NXI, which is this lean assist. So if you get to the engine page, there's a lean assist page, and as you change your mixture, you can see exactly how far you are away from, you know, the peak of your exhaust gas temperature. And you know, you can adjust your
螺旋桨调燃油混合比的可视化，这是好东西。
peak, you know, whatever the engine manufacturer recommends. So yeah, and then over here we've got the other big thing was going to be RNAV. So people were really asking, you know, we want to be able to fly RNAV. When do we get to fly RNAV? It's important to IFR. Here you can see we're doing an LNAV plus V RNAV approach. So plus V is like that Garmin, you know, kind of advisory guidance. But you know, we do the whole thing. We do LPV, LP, we do LNAV, VNav, all that stuff. It does them all. And picks them all up from the right place with the scenery nav data. So it's really super cool. And then here you can see the crazy legs that we're able to do now. Over on the left corner, you can see we've got a procedure turn there at Urba. And over on the right, you can see at Dusev, there's a full hold there. So you know, you can see the line is a little bit thinner. That's because it's in the missed approach. So yeah, we have missed approaches too. It'll do those. You can fly those as well, and it'll do the holds, and it'll calculate the proper entries and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's all the IFR procedures are there from top to bottom. And then as far as quality of life stuff goes, here we got a little yellow highlight you can see around the ident of the waypoint, and there's a little keyboard icon there. Now you can click in either of those places and use your keyboard to type in, you know, to type in the waypoints instead of using the knobs. We know the knobs are real fiddly. It's kind of hard to do, especially if you're in turbulence, or especially on Xbox. This works on Xbox too, which is awesome. It'll bring up the on-screen keyboard. You can put in your waypoint and then it'll close it. So, you know, we try not to sacrifice realism for that. But for these kinds of things, you know, they're helpful for people. Not everybody can use all the different kinds of controllers. We want to make this accessible. So that was a big deal. And then the other thing that we added, which is the thing that the real NXI also added, is the ability to do these visual approach procedures. You can see 2 waypoints here, straight and final. You can create a procedure into any airport. So, you know, some grass strip, you want to fly, you know, your 3-degree glide path with it, with your autopilot. You could totally do that. It's super cool. So yeah, that's another big one there. And I don't know, I think that's all we had. Yeah. So the other thing that we want to talk about is the VFR map. One thing that I know people have been asking for a while is some updates to the VFR map. How do we get more information on it? You know, where do I get data? Now all that stuff is on the VFR map. We've added to that. And you can see on the right-hand side here, you can see, you know, you've got all of the runways listed, what the runway surface types are, their lengths. You get all the comm radio frequencies, you get ILS frequencies. And there was a great piece of feedback. We just want to thank the community for the feedback, because it was a good thing that we didn't think about, which is the ILS course. And we were able to sneak that in during the Sim Update 10 beta period. So thanks for that feedback. So that's there, and you've got the METAR as well. And then in the upper area there, the bar, you can search, you know, you can type and it'll bring up a list of things that match, and you can actually click on the on the stuff on the map too. So it's super useful. It's extra nice. I've been using it a lot when I want to get like, you know, weather METAR reports, like from my destination airport. I just open up the VFR map and click stuff. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, that's what we've got coming in Sim Update 10. We're super excited.
That's awesome. Thanks, Matt. And can you talk a little bit about what's coming later on today, the video we've made?
Oh yeah, we've got a that goes into more detail. Obviously, you could talk about the NXI features forever. We're very, very close to one-to-one. There are certainly features that we don't have yet, but as far as stuff that pilots use every day, it's got everything. So yeah, we've got a feature discovery video coming later today. That's, you know, got 8 or 9 minutes of me blabbing about all the cool stuff you'll find in it. So yeah, it's cool, and we hope you guys, you know, have a lot of fun flying it. We're excited.
Awesome. I did see one question in chat earlier that was asking, you know, once this is default, will they need to uninstall the marketplace version they have, or can they just keep that? Is it going to clash at all?
Yeah, so this has been a little bit of a point of confusion, so I'll try and explain it as clearly as I can. There will be one final marketplace version, which we've already released, and that marketplace version will enable you to use the NXI in third-party planes that don't have it in there by default yet.
Okay.
So, you know, as those third parties move their planes over to the NXI, then that won't really be needed anymore. But there's no need to uninstall the marketplace. Just get the latest update, and that will make sure that you have it on both the default planes in the sim and the ones that are third-party planes. And if you don't want it on the third-party planes, you can always, you know, pull that package off.
Perfect. Yes, that explains it perfectly. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing that Feature Discoveries video come out later today, and super glad you could join us for this Q&A. Everybody in chat is very stoked to see you. But we'll catch you later, and we appreciate you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to our Q&A session 2. This also questions we pulled from the forums. Some really good questions here. Number 1, all about Xbox WASM. We're wondering about implementation of WASM, how that's going, when we can expect to see it in the sim.
Yeah, so I can speak to that. It's going great. Just for those, I think you know what it is, right? Basically, it allows us to run code that is very unusual for a closed ecosystem like Xbox via a sandbox. And the good news is it's all working. And there was I would say there was a healthy debate if we should put this in the Sim Update 10, because it does work. But then we looked at the consumer experience of it, and it's clunky, and we didn't want to do that. Basically, you get a DLC, and you know, so you get a DLC kind of, you don't even know what for, and then if you're in a certain state, you have to delete it. So it was like, oh my God, what are we doing to the poor people? And so we made the decision to move it to Sim Update 11. But that all being said, all the tech behind it works great, and we're super proud of it. For those of you who don't know, this is a revolution for consoles that has never been possible before on any console to do something like this. And this is a super smart way by the team, but it's clunky. And it's just sort of like the decision with Sim Update 10, move it by a few weeks. We said, let's work with the platform team. There's some stuff we need to do and some stuff they need to do to make this a smooth experience, because you don't want to get this every time. Like, because we update this file frequently, you don't want to get this all the time. But that's where we are. We're basically mostly done with the functionality. We are there, and then with the flow for the consumer, it's probably going to take one more Sim update.
Perfect. Thank you for the update. Yep, that's great to know. Glad it's all working. The next question we have is, how did you manage to greatly reduce the initial loading times? So it's been stated in the beta forums that they noticed a great reduction in those loading times in some of the beta updates. So we'd love to know how you did that.
Yeah, I'm super glad that people have noticed. And I would like to thank Cedric, for instance, for the great job he did, and the team, Romain and the team for the packages, because there are 2 things there. The one that I will call the pre-start, loading video, part of the optimizations. And basically this was by reducing as much as possible the size of the executable, and also to optimize the different calls we are getting to some other APIs, and sometimes also to work with the the one that does the API, so we can have a better loading time. And on the other end, we've got also some optimizations done on packages.
这个字念啥？这个官方直播是在 Twitch 上。
To check the updates, and so we've got some different kind of calls to playfab, and this has completely been rewritten the way we were doing these calls and the way all the packages were installed. So basically now it's much more optimized, and it's getting better and better. This is not finished yet. We have noticed also that some people are complaining sometimes there's a degradation in the performances while loading. So we're still investigating that. To be honest, we haven't found anything, and we have no repro. So same as usual.
现在是他正在讲技术细节，我就不做记录。
Degradation performances on the loading time, please give us some feedback.
Great, thank you, Martial. Next question here we have, there's a new experimental scenery reorder tool in some update 10. The question is, could you explain how it works? Now, I think this question would be a great answer from the SDK team, who we don't have on today, but do you have anything you want to add to that, Martial?
Yeah, I think, well, Joker. No, I'm not very familiar with this experimental tool. I know that some people are asking to be able to change the way the package are loaded, so they can change the priority of each. So this is what the tool is doing. I don't exactly know how it does, and
I think we should do it. We should do an SDK stream again.
We should do it. Yeah, Eric will be super dedicated to that.
Yeah, perfect. We'll plan
Sorry,
on that.
Eric, if you're looking at that.
We'll have that soon, or whether it's post or video or something, we'll make sure we can get a good explanation for those trying to learn how to work the tool. But thank you for that question. Another question we had from the forums, they said it would be awesome to chat about how weather is injected and drawn and from what sources it's fed.
Okay. So,
I can talk a little bit about it. Even though I don't know exactly how the entire system works, but so there's a few different data sources, and they are blended together. So for example, we're getting I think humidity, pressure, wind, etc. from MeteoBlue in columns, which have I think 60 or something in that area layers vertically. And clouds I think is coming from another data source, which is more like a voxel or something, which has like a 3D data source. So basically there's a whole bunch of data sources coming from MeteoBlue, and then there's metadata which is pulled quite regularly for all the airports around you, and then this is blended together. So and the blend code is pretty long because it does different. It's blended differently depending on the data source, and I think also, Marcel, you can confirm. I think at the source level, I think MeteoBlue is also blending some metadata into the clouds.
Yeah, especially for clouds. Yes.
So MeteoBlue is using metadata to inject it into their data.
Into their model, so they can recompute it from.
Yeah, but they have a model which actually, sort of simulates an atmosphere and makes predictions, and we then in real time in the sim get the metadata, and we re-inject it, and that's mostly important. So we don't, for example, we don't re-inject metadata into the clouds. The clouds are, I think, just the clouds coming from MeteoBlue, right, with the metadata injected. But I think we use the metadata for to fix the wind on the runway, but that's faded out, right? So it sort of only occurs when you're on the runway. I think at, for example, at 1,000 feet, you would be only on MeteoBlue, and the same thing at a few kilometers away from the airport, you would be back to MeteoBlue. Same for temp. temperature, pressure, etc. So which means that if you have a META and an airport with a META, and you're sitting on the runway, you should see the metadata. If you are in the air or if you're in an airport which has no META, for example, in our area, there's only one META, which is the Bordeaux airport. Every other airport in the area just doesn't have any or copies the data from Bordeaux. If you're far away, you just have the MeteoBlue data. And this has not really changed for quite a while. The only thing we did is maybe a few fixes here and there where the blending wasn't correct for pressure maybe or stuff like that. But for example, the cloud system has not changed for a while. So I know on Simulate 10, is that where the cloud has more vertical position? That's the only change in the display maybe, Marcel, but that's not, the data source has not changed. So it's a blend at runtime of data from different data sources.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation, Seb. I hope that helps.
Maybe you can also give some explanation about how you get the drafts, because.
Oh, and that's so that's for what we could call large scale information. So that data is I don't know what resolution it is, maybe 100 meters or something, but
a bit later.
So one thing
on the layer.
One thing which is important is that we get from whether it's META or MeteoBlue, we only get horizontal wind. It's always horizontal, it's flat. It doesn't do any vertical components. So all the vertical components of the wind are computed in real time in our sort of thermal updraft turbulence simulator. And that thing basically starts with whatever comes from the wind system, META injected into MeteoBlue. And it's going to look at both the terrain. For example, is there a hill? Like, is it going uphill, downhill? Is there a mountain up front? It's going to look at sunlight, actual sunlight coming, so depending on the sun position, if there's clouds which are hiding the sun, or if you're on a slope, mountain slope, whatever the angle. It's gonna compute also atmosphere thickness. So it's going to compute the actual watts of sunlight reaching the ground. So if you're at the top of the Mont Blanc, clear sky, it's gonna be, I think it's 1300 watts or something. And the more you go down, the more there's clouds, or at night, it goes down to 0. Then it takes the ground type, if there's forest, trees, grass, the color, albedo, what type of terrain it is, if it's water, and then it sort of starts with the ground air temperature, which we get from META or MeteoBlue, and it computes the ground surface temperature, which has been heated up or not. And that then sort of, well, if the ground is extremely hot, compared to the air, I don't know, let's say it's 15 degrees outside air, but the ground is at 60 because it's in the sun, we will generate more updrafts. So that's the thermic updrafts, thermal updrafts, and then there's obviously also if the wind hits a building, then it gets diverted and does turbulences behind the building. If it hits a range of trees, it's gonna create a bump. So there's all sorts of systems which basically take the topology shape of the terrain, temperature of the terrain, and compute the thermals. And that's not coming from any data source, because this is way too, I mean, this is a 1 foot resolution. It's super, super small, because a bump created by a house on vinyl can be very, very small, and no weather system reads this data. And this system so creates heat bumps, pressure bumps, because when air is pushing away, it changes pressure a little bit. And yeah, I think it changes air temperature. So you can get into a bubble of hot air and get an updraft, and that can change whatever the engine performance. If it's 5 degrees hotter, it's gonna have all sorts of consequences. And so that's simulated in real time. It's not coming from any data source.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I showed an example also, I think earlier already on Q&A. There's something coming which will allow users to visualize the vertical wind component in the world. So like a assistance, like all the ribbons or all that stuff. There's going to be an assistance where you can see the vertical wind. So that's really cool if you want to use that to go up on a glider or whatever. Even if you want to glide on on a Cessna, you can do that if there's enough updraft, or if you want to just understand why it's very turbulent. Because if you understand all this, you can understand why more people complain about turbulences in the summer. It's just there's more sunlight. I mean, in our areas, and why in winter it's very hard to get any turbulence because the sun is just so low and it doesn't create many updrafts.
Just one final word, maybe. I've seen on the forum somebody saying that it could make no sense to ingest metadata into MeteoBlue's data, and then on top of that, Earth using the same data to do that kind of bubble things. Everything is a matter of frequency. When MeteoBlue is collecting some metadata as an entry, as an input for their systems, after that they've got to launch a bunch of calculations. They're using super computers for doing that, and so we are getting a weather model every 6 hours, and in between it's just interpolation. So if we want to be a bit more precise of our meta, on top of that we are collecting the metadata, which most of the times are updated every half an hour, and we are using this new updated meta to inject that into the game. That's why there's that kind of two different systems that could be first seen as something we shouldn't do, but because of this frequency,
我重新刷一下。
precision into the system.
Thank you, Seb and Martial. Yes, amazing explanation. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk about that. The next question we have here is also from the forums. The question is, now you've removed the encryption on the default aircraft, skilled devs will start noodling them to perfection. Are you planning to use valuable tweaks to optimize the default planes yourself too? If so, what would be the best way to inform you about these enhancements?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. I mean, just because I saw something in the chat, I just want to say about weather. I mean, it's not, weather is constant. It's constantly being looked at as something that's critically important. And there are all the systems just described, and there's other data that we're looking at in for the future. So I think this is going to be a long, fruitful story for us to discuss to get the weather really perfect. On the second thing here, the encryption, yeah. So we did what you guys asked, which was remove the restriction. Now that we have it, I've always been super interested in what freeware people are doing. Like I remember fly-by-wire's work on the A320, amazing. I remember talking to Salties about their 747, also really cool. I think where we stumbled a little was with something as boring as licenses for open source, right? And some people want to have the GPL3 license. Some people are fine with the MIT license. We're fine with the MIT license. We can't do GPL3 for, don't ask me exactly what the legal reasons are, because I'm thankfully not a lawyer, right? But it's that was the issue. So I think there is a healthy discussion internally about, we talked about doing a freeware section in the marketplace for a long time. I'm totally committed to it, and I can see a world where we just take plane adjustments, for example, hey Salty 747, we should talk again, and just put it into the sim, right? I think the thing that's a little bit quirky is it needs to be updated, right? Otherwise it sort of dies. But in general, we're completely open now. But frankly, what's surprising is we haven't been contacted by anybody since we did the encryption thing. But let's chat. I mean, that was the whole point. Let's make these planes as good as they can be.
Great, thank you, Jorg. Next question we have here. Could you elaborate on the progress made in fixing FPS dropping during a long flight?
It's a long process. It's super hard to find. You know, when you're doing some dev, you love to get an easy pre-pro state and process, so you can check and make sure that everything that you've done are fixing the issue. It's a little bit more complicated because it's super hard to reproduce. So we've got some different measurements on long flights, on different machines, because it's not 100% free of hardware or systems And so what we're doing, every time we're doing some change, we're launching some long flights to check if the measurement has changed or not, to try to detect any improve or degradation of performances. For the moment, I won't say that we found like the magical recipe of not losing any FPS on every single machines on the world. So I'm not feeling confident to say, yes, we've got great improvements and we are 100% sure that it won't happen again, but we are still working on that. Right. It's I think we will never stop to work. Since, well, as you may have seen, we've done a lot of changes during the last 2 years, and every time we are doing some changes, whatever it is, it can be the rendering system, collisions, weather, flying models, every time it can have some side effects. So that's why we are always launching the sim on different PCs. We are also using the help of some performances company to give us some stats, just to monitor what's going on with the sim, what are the consequences of all of the changes we are doing. So it's a long problem survey. Right. I don't know what to say in English. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, along that question, one of the ones that popped up both in the forums and in our chat today, the question is, what are the results of that Xbox stability test beta that we did recently? And did that help with the black avionics issue that they're experiencing?
It does. As a matter of fact, it helps us to see and to check that now most of the issue we're getting on Xbox are linked to memory.
Yeah.
So it can be seen as a good news or not. The good news is we don't have that much of crashes done by our systems, and now it's only. It's mostly a matter of optimization of the memory. And also we've got different systems that tries to reduce the cost of the sims if we are very close to the end of the memory reserve. I don't know, the memory pool that we've got. So two things here. The first one is we figure out that we are consuming more memory than what we intend to do. Yep. So we've got to work on the optimization of that. And the other thing we are working on is with the platform team. We have noticed that sometimes we are asking the platform how many memory we've got left, and sometimes the numbers are wrong. So it's super bad for us because we can do some allocations that makes the Xbox crashes because we think that it can fit, and it's not. It doesn't. So there's plenty of things here to try to and that's also a reason why we have a bit postponed the sim update 10. It's because we want to try to find some optimization on Xbox for the memory.
Gotcha.
And well, the black screens. This is also a system that's. I mean, the screens are disconnected when we are super close to the end of the memory pool. That's why sometimes you get some black screens. It's the black things are there in order not to crash and to have them back once the memory has been retrieved. Well, so we're working on that.
Great, thanks, Martial. The last question we have on this list here is, why are some regressions, bugs, and problems that show up in a beta, why aren't they high priority when brought on for the next beta update?
Oh, they are. I think that's a misperception. I mean, that's exactly what we do, right? You guys provide us feedback. There's lots of people obsessing on the feedback. We triage it, and then we reprioritize. As you see, like, we just moved some update 10 for that exact precise reason, because some people have real performance issues. It's not every machine, it's just some. We have a pretty elaborate hardware lab where we actually test these things, and it showed some interesting results, and some of it has to do with NVIDIA, as we talked about earlier. Some of it has to do with other things. But we are absolutely, I mean, why else do a beta? We're not ignoring anything, and we are doing our best to prioritize it. Now, at some point, if you keep adding completely new things, new features, then you're never going to get done. But I think we are. I'd love to hear more specifics where somebody thinks we didn't do that.
So we even changed the way we're working. We used to work, at least, because now we are a game as service. We know that, and we've got to collect the feedback. So there's also some QA, a part of the QA here, which is dedicated to collect the feedbacks that you're giving us. Yep. So we make sure that we are not missing any information there. So, yeah. Yep. Like Jörg, I would love to understand exactly why this has been written.
Yep. All right, thank you so much for the questions. There are a few more questions I'll ask towards the end of the stream. Now let's move on to our roadmap. Here you go, Jörg.
Roadmap. Okay, yeah. Well, it has been 3 months. So I looked at the slide decks. I always put these things together, and this was where we are last time we met. And then if you go to the next thing, so there are lots of little black boxes, and we actually have done a lot since. So we, in June, right after we talked, we shipped Word Update 10, and alongside it, the wonderful Beechcraft Model 18 from Coronado, lovely plane. And obviously we surprised people with the Pelican and all that stuff. And then some of the other things that we had said, gliders, for example, the bottom gliders, the surprise was actually the Airbus, and helicopters. They're all now in the 40th anniversary edition. And today, so this is where we are right this moment. And today we are actually showing you a couple of other things. We can talk about this on the next slide, which is the next Word Update. Yay! So it's coming September 27th. And I read all kinds of things in the chat, and it is, next slide. It's Canada. Yes, nice. Not Africa. I'm working on Africa, but it's Canada. Africa will take us a little bit more time to actually get. It's a big continent, has 66 countries on it. You know, there's a lot of data you need to find. But anyways, it's Canada, and I know we have lots of people have written about Canada, so we have good data. So what we have, new arrows. So always, we are making 5 airports. You're gonna get to see pictures here today. 89 POIs, 12 photogrammetry cities, makes me super happy. I think we pretty much now have covered almost all large cities in Canada with the base queue and this edition now. And then, as always, we do 3 landing challenges, 3 bush trips, and discovery flights. And then put some pictures in. Don't have a trailer yet. So this is the first airport. We can just cruise through these.
Okay.
We always pick these things to take you around the entirety of the country that we're looking at. So here's Dawson, Deer Lake. Next one. Yep. Equalit, I think. I always get that wrong when I pronounce it. And then a couple of here's some screenshots of POIs. It makes me feel cold. I sat here, it's hot, and I'm putting these pictures and I'm like, man, this looks cold already. How is this even possible? But I think it's going to be a really nice.
加拿大的话，那当地传奇应该是一架 DHC 吧？
Just to be controversial.
难道是冲7或者冲8吗
？Controversial center of Canada. Where is it really? Well, you know, we have it.
I love that. Awesome. We are looking forward to a Canada update at the end of September. Thanks, Jörg. And of course, today, you may have seen it already on our socials or perhaps even in the marketplace, but our famous Flyers 3 has just come out. So we're going to play the trail real quick before we talk about it a little bit. So enjoy.
好像都是卡塔琳娜机场。这架飞机已经发售了，现在市场上已经可以买到了，15美元。 看上去是 Coronado 做的。Coronado 的话，那操控啥样，我们都应该知道。
Gorgeous plane. We are really excited to talk about this. I am personally really excited about this plane. Has a lot of meaning to me. But we have on with us today Fernando Herrera. Hey Fernando, how are you? Welcome to the stream.
Hi everyone.
Glad to have you.
Hi everyone.
So
thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about this plane? How long you've been working on it? A little bit of the
我没猜错吧？是 Coronado 做的。
How you feel about it now that it's out?
Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate for this second anniversary of the Microsoft Flight Simulator. I remember 2 years ago when one of our aircraft was the first one and only in the marketplace. Looks like it was centuries ago.
Right.
Well, thank you for letting me present in this plane. This one is one of our favorite vintage aircraft. Lovely and
所以说用他们家做古董机是很合适的，因为古董机的气动是啥你也不知道。
B shape. One particular thing about it is the control surface in the back of this aircraft are called rudder baiters and perform at the same time as a mix of a rudder and an elevator. Because of this B-tail shape, we put a lot of attention in flight dynamics. This aircraft oscillates in flight and has a particular behavior, especially when you are approaching the runway. And all of this is in our aircraft. The model we selected to recreate is a model from the early 80s, when Beechcraft stopped producing this aircraft. So our B-35 has around 40 years, and that's why we gave it a weathered look, an old look. In this picture that you are showing, you can see that we put special attention in many aspects of the cockpit to make people feel inside a real Bonanza B-35. It is equipped with the default Bonanza instrument of that time. And you can see is one cool feature of, for example, is the panel. We try to recreate the original panel made of wood as they were in that time. You can see in that picture. Or if you, I don't know which, okay, because I have a little delay with the images. Or the leather of the seat.
Yeah.
For example, you can feel that if you would be like to sit in those leather seats, you can see the leather and it scratches. It's a very you see the seats and you want to sit in there. All in all, I highly recommend getting inside this.
注意到它那个操纵杆的是直接连到中间上去的。
Like if you were there.
这种设计现在应该没有了吧？
Yes, this is out now on the marketplace. I think it came 2 or 3 hours ago, so go check it out if you're interested. Beautiful model, Fernando. I'm really impressed with the photos here and with the trailer.
We really enjoyed developing it. It's one of our favorite aircraft. Very different, very easy to spot in every aircraft around the world. And we really like to develop this kind of aircraft.
Were there any interesting challenges you faced as you developed it, or anything that surprised you while you made this plane?
Yes. One is the simulator is not prepared for this kind of tails. So we had to emulate one with the regular control surface. That was a challenge.
Certainly. Yeah, I'm in chat saying, great job. Someone wants to know, how fast does it go? Do you know what the general cruise speed of this plane is?
I guess it's around 200 miles per hour.
Okay.
200, 203.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yes, it's a very quick,
yeah,
an elegant
it's a good plane.
way to. It's an elegant way to know the new Canada scenery. You can go faster.
Sure.
Very true.
I highly recommend to get into one of these.
Yeah.
In Flight Simulator.
I can't wait to try it out. It was my first discovery flight in this plane, and I can't wait to fly it. So thank you, Fernando, for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Say bye, chat. Thank you, Fernando. We'll talk to you soon.
We have to say
yes.
Yeah, we have to say bye with 2 fingers instead of 5 because of the B.
Nice. I like it. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, so with that in mind, we'll go take a look at our roadmap here. It should have, excuse me for all that, there we go. Should have our update now with our famous flyer on there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's filling up. You see that somebody actually asked, what's up with this stuff in August? Well, guess what? We're going to Gamescom. And we're holding something back there. It's locally relevant, so but we'll see it next week. Hopefully, I'll see, or Seb and I are going. Right? I don't know if you know this, but we're actually, Flight Sim is pretty prominent there in the old Xbox show. So if you want to tune in, we're talking about some interesting stuff. Seb will show some. He's going to give you a sneak peek here in a minute about helicopters. We'll talk more about that at Gamescom, and also about what the hell is CU1 and. What is the local legend in August that's coming? And maybe just one word about because some of you might have noticed this. Typically we do local legends directly related to the region that we're updating. So the Beechcraft V35 is a wonderful plane. It's not exactly Canadian. The reason for that is because we had planned the Beaver to be the plane for the Canada update, which makes a ton of sense, right, from de Havilland. But ultimately decided it should be in the 40th anniversary edition. So that's why the swap. But yeah, overall, I think it's filling out. I'm actually just a sneak peek. I was working on the roadmap for 2023 in the last few weeks, and I had a great old time. So I can't wait to share that with you soon.
Fantastic. So speaking of helicopters, Seb, there's a little video here you can talk over if you'd like to show a little tease about what we'll talk about at Gamescom.
Yep. So we've made a lot of progress on helicopters. The team actually went, I think it was in June. We took our first helicopter lessons. We had instructors which are specialized on this helicopter, fly the helicopter in the sim, and they were impressed, gave us feedback. And yeah, this is the very first sneak peek at helicopters in the sim, the Gimbal Cabri G2. So I flew this one. Great helicopter. And so you will see, starting the engine, cockpit view. It has all the instruments, just like the one we flew actually. Adding more power, lifting off, and we're actually gonna lift off in 2 steps. Just finding how much power you need to lift off. You see it goes to the side as it should. Everything is very realistic. All the secondary effects are there. It has a very advanced assistance, which I'm using there right now just to film it was easier. If you turn off the assistance, it's really like the real one, very demanding in terms of number of inputs. And there's a new user-facing thing you can turn on, which is showing the airflow around the helicopter, which has been optimized and is available on our platforms, which allows to show really what's going on. And yeah, we will show a lot more of this next week. But here you can already see the helicopter taking off, going back down, what the air does basically around the helicopter. Yeah, there was a little bit of a vortex ring effect and going back to the ground and into the ground effect. So everything is simulated accurately. All the performance values are accurate. So in the rear one, when we flew, we had over 100 degrees and we were heavy. So we couldn't even take off vertically. It was beyond our power limit. We could barely hover at 1 feet altitude. in the sim is exactly the same. We had to move forward to actually go up. The ground effect provides about the same power gain. The climb rate is the same. It's really very, very close to reality in terms of all these, not just the raw performance and speed, but also how much is the impact of ground effect, what's the impact of transversal lift, how much it drifts to the side, etc., etc.
Awesome. So learn more about that, tune into Gamescom, and we'll have another helicopter update for you. There's the dates of Gamescom if you're curious. We have a little bit of time left, so I've gathered some questions that I've been seeing in chat throughout the stream today, and I'm going to ask those. We'll see if we can get some answers for you. The first question I have here, I'm going to read this out. It says, the formation flying community loves the fixed multiplayer animations and smoother netcode when flying formation at high airspeeds and G-loads in the Sim Update 10 beta. Is the netcode and animation fixes an intentional fix, or was it a byproduct of potentially other changes? Or is this just the result of lightly loaded beta servers? Asking because we love this change or wondering if we're going to see this in the live version.
I can't tell. I'm very sorry. I can't tell. We are doing some optimizations on the netcode, and I can't remember exactly what is the status of that. I haven't spent time on that matter this summer, so I'm sorry. Please put this question aside, and I will try to. Well, not I will try. I will give the information next time.
Great, I will do that. Thank you, Martial.
I'm very sorry.
No need to apologize. This is a nice, good question here. Sim Update 10 introduces a new way of customizing how weather, terrain is rendered on a Bing map instance. Are there plans to expand this API to expose the data to developers?
I don't know. Sorry.
It's a question mark. Okay, we'll figure that one out too. This next question, yes. I don't know if there's enough context. The question is there any update on the...
Just to talk about this, most of it, that's not 100% sure, but every time we can, we try to expose the same kind of data that we're getting.
Sure.
So our goal is always to use the same tools and to use the same the same API, the same access to the data that everybody can. I mean, third party. For some reason, sometimes it's not 100% possible. And on this particular matter, I can't tell. I can't tell if it has been restricted to our usage or not.
Okay, got it. Oh, where was I? Okay, is there any update on weather radar? I don't have any more context to that, so any update on... Yes. I don't know if you might know.
This is part of the weather API we want to expose. So I don't have the proper status, and neither I don't have in mind the roadmap that we're having, but it's on the roadmap.
Yeah. Okay. Great, Martial.
So I can't commit to a date.
This is a question around WASM for Xbox. So once WASM is out with hopefully some update 11, will these complex planes that are on PC, they're curious if it'll be the same on Xbox or if there'll be some kind of optimization, if there's going to be any difference between the planes that'll be added onto the Xbox platform.
So the goal here is to have the same code, exactly the same code that runs on both PC and Xbox. As always, not the issue, but the constraint we're getting on Xbox is the memory consumption. So we encourage the third parties to do some tests and to make sure that the plan they're doing is compliant with those constraints. But apart from that, technically speaking, it's exactly the same code that runs on both platforms.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. Someone asked, is there any news on the ATR partnership? You recall we had Hans on earlier, so any update from the summer?
Hans is working hard on it with a team at Asobo. It's making good progress. This is one of those planes where we said it ships when it's ready. We want to call it export series. So, I mean, to be perfectly honest about it, like it was targeting to be done end of this year. But when I have conversations with Hans, I'm like, if it takes a little bit longer, it doesn't really matter. It needs to be great. And I see lots of emails between Hans and ATR, because ATR is helping us a lot. So I think it's all going very well.
Good to know. Okay. Next question is, earlier you mentioned memory optimizations. Was this VRAM or RAM optimization?
Both. I was talking on VRAM allocation. It was on DirectX 12. So we gained some VRAM on DirectX 12. There's still a difference. I think there's between 1 to 2 gigabytes of difference when we're using DirectX 12. It costs a little bit more, 1 to 2 gigabytes. And we're also talking about optimizations on, especially on the Xbox, on the RAM itself, and the way we're using systems, the way we're doing some allocations.
Awesome.
So it's RAMs everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Going back to the question, not sure if you'll know this or not, but do you know if the netcode is software side or server side?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
It says, is the netcode software side or server side?
It's software on client and server.
Yes, yes. So, it depends on the systems.
Okay.
Yeah, there's always the client and server part. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. One more question here. There was a performance loss when popping out panels and instruments, which was fixed in the first Sim Update 10 beta, but has regressed. Are we aware of this, and is the performance going to be restored in a future build for these popping out of panels?
So this is a kind of issues we are investigating, and that's why the Sim update has been delayed a bit.
This bug is, for example, when somebody said we're ignoring bugs, no, this is actually, as far as I remember, as a SEF1 Pry 1 or something like that. So it's at the top of the list.
Question in chat, will the memory restrictions from Xbox mean that the PC version will also be restricted on memory usage, or are both running the same, as they both are running the same code?
So, most of the time the code is not the part that is that costs the most. Memory speaking, we are talking here most often about the graphics assets. We have LOD systems that allows PC to use LOD that Xbox can, for instance, and it's already the case on Xbox. If you do a comparison between the rendering you're getting on S and X, it's a little bit different, and it's using differently the level of details. So on PC, you can see a PC as a Xbox Plus. Well, most of the, not most, but high-end PC, because it's obviously not the case for every PC on Earth. But it's always a matter of getting the right asset at with the right environment.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Interesting feature request here. Can we get an in-sim benchmarking tool so players can test their performance using the same plane / location, weather, etc.?
We already exposed some, maybe on the forums. I don't know exactly what kind of measure people want to do. But on PC, obviously, on the dev mode, you can get a lot of information already.
Next question we have here is, could we expect to see a more optimized replay tool in the future?
Oh. So actually...
about Xbox, I think this.
Oh, this is for Xbox?
I saw some about Xbox as well. So I think it's connected. We should talk about both.
Sure.
So on Xbox, it's difficult because users don't have an access to the data, so and the replay system is costly. On PC, actually, when we did when we did the tools, we were expecting a bunch of feedback to improve the tool. We did get some, not much, I would say. And so I don't know. It looks like the repeat system that we've got is sufficient for most of you guys. So if you've got some requirements here, please tell us in the forum.
Thank you. Other question here is, what's going on? Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry, Jen. Just to make sure that that same here. I've seen that people were sending their congratulations to the one that does the video that has been shown during this Q&A or all the other videos. The guys here, Louis, Thibault, and the guys that are doing the trailers here, they are using the replay system that everybody has.
Yeah, they are. So, all right, last question. Is there an update or what happened to the freeware marketplace that we had in the sim?
As far as I know, it's there because that's where the world update said. But what is not there is what we said earlier.
Right.
I was certainly expecting there to be more, for example, freeware airliners. I think there's quite a few of them that are coming that I'm personally really looking forward to. And that is again, I think the developer needs to contact us and say we would like this in there, and then we just need to talk about the license stuff again. Super fun. GPA, the open license versus the MIT. Which one are we doing?
Right. Awesome. All right, Jorg, do you have anything you want to say or chat about before we close out the stream today?
It's been too long. I think it's I was very happy actually to read your feedback on our delay. Obviously we feel bad, right? We're shooting for a date, we want to get the sim update out to you guys, and then it's not quite there yet. And it's very nice to see that you guys appreciate that we are trying to do the right thing and do a stable piece of software.
Right.
So that's great to see. And then there's lots to be said about the 40th. I saw a bunch of questions. I think we'll do this. I mean, it's shipping in November, so we have some time, but I hope you guys are looking forward to this. It's a real nice box of chocolate that's coming your way. There's all kinds of things you haven't even talked about yet. So I'm super excited to talk about more of that. And obviously there's helicopters and gliders. We haven't even talked about gliders. So there's tons to be said.
Yes. Sure, the whole dedicated stream or something about it. Looking forward to that. Seb or Martial, anything you'd like to add before we close out?
Nothing specific. Thank you everybody for following this stream and for giving us the feedback. And it's super useful. Please continue.
Awesome. Thank you to the three of you for coming on our stream today and chatting with everyone in the community. We really appreciate it. We really feel connected and love the transparency between the two. So thank you again. We'll be back on this stream. What is it? Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow for our Community Fly-In Friday, of course, at 1900 Zulu. So we will see you there. We'll see you around in Discord, forums, socials, everywhere. And we'll get this posted on YouTube by tomorrow. So thank you all for coming out, and we'll see you soon. All right, bye.
今儿这个